Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and it is a great honor to welcome to the conference a friend of our industry. Anthony Giagnacovo is the CEO of CallRevu. CallRevu works with dealers throughout the continent and has made a great impact and continues to, and has some amazing technology to share with us today. Anthony, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you, Ted. It's a pleasure, and thank you so much for having me on this great show and this great initiative.
Anthony, you and I know a lot of people in common. We've both been in the industry for a number of years. And, we talked a little bit off screen about Leukemia and Lymphoma Society and a lot of the good work that you are doing as well. And, we have a lot going on, not just at this event, at the next one. And I want to thank you as well for everything that you do for LLS behind the scenes, because I know that's a big initiative for CallRevu as well.
You know what, and it's an honor. And as I've mentioned to you, Tom Dole was the one who, actually encouraged me to be part of it, introduced me to the Mid-Atlantic LLS Society, and I became a board member recently. And Ted, I know you contribute to this often, and you've contributed to my cause or our campaign. So we thank you so much for that. Your generosity is well appreciated, and it is for an extremely good cause. I encourage others to participate in the LLS donation piece. So please feel free, join us at CallRevu and help us cure this cause.
Everyone, Anthony is at the helm of CallRevu, and I know that you are seeing some things firsthand from your vantage point there. Service business, service calls, a lot of things that are taking place right now in our industry. And I got to ask you, what are some of the biggest trends that you've noticed so far this year?
CallRevu has over 5,000 dealerships, retailers, rooftops, however you want to call them today, that are customers of ours. So we see a lot of volumes of calls going through. By the way, the volumes of calls are just going through the roof. But that said, what we've noticed as well, and everybody's understanding this in our surveys and our analysis of the industry is telling us that sales are down about 12% overall. But the service side of the business is going through the roof. I mean, there's a 15% month over month activity increase at the service level. But what's interesting about that, and I'm not making this up. If you read the Wall Street Journal article, I think it was back in June, they talked about the lifespan of a vehicle has gone from 10 years to 12 years. So people in America are keeping their cars longer. They're built better, they drive better, but also they're a lot more expensive now for many. The shortage of inventory has been an issue. Chip shortage is an issue for some people. They say, I want to get that car that has an electric seat. And they say, well, we don't have that in there because the chip's not available. But when it's available, come back and put it in. No, I'll wait and keep my car. So you've got a lot of those things happening. So service is becoming such an important aspect of the business. And if you want to really continue to have those customers that come back to you, a satisfied service customer is a strong potential new customer to buy their cars or come back and buy a new car in the future date. So we're seeing massive changes that's going on the service side. Right. the way you're servicing, how you want to increase revenue, what customers are expecting, because now they've got, COVID taught people a lot of things, and one was I can call almost anywhere I want to get a service done. They'll even come and get my car. I know of a independent service department here that will, come and pick up the car at your house, bring it into their shops. They'll do, and they'll even detail it. I mean, they're going all through the hoops to get this done because there's a lot of room to make a lot of money on fixing these cars and keeping these cars and keeping those customers happy.
There's been a lot that's happened in the last 2.5 years. You're right. With service calls, and that's everything we see as well on the rise. Low-hanging fruit, what should we be focused on right now at the retail level?
Spot on. I mean, the first thing is answering those calls. What is the number one complaint that we keep hearing? So I'll tell you a little funny story that I listen to a lot of the calls that our customers go through just for the purposes that I want to stay on top of things. They always think, the guy in the ivory tower never knows what's really going on. I'm the guy that really goes in and listens to calls and listens to what our customers are experiencing. So you learn a lot. But what you learn a lot is that when we obtain a call, we also hear when the person's on hold what the customer's saying. And you can't believe the complaints that, customers will say about, I can't believe it, I'm on hold again. I can't believe that they're transferring me again. I can't believe, and the frustration levels are coming out. So first things is be proactive and answer your calls. Be properly staffed. If you can't be staffed, use technology to help you to address those calls. That's the number one thing. I went in prior to our show here today and looked at our statistics, and we're seeing about 42% of the calls are not being answered. So they're going either to a voicemail or they're being disconnected. The person hangs up, doesn't complete into speaking to a human, which is massive. I mean, think about it. 42% of those customers hang up. And where do they go after that?
We just recently had a panel. Tully Williams from the Nilo company in Sacramento was on there and saying the same thing. No matter what you think, the numbers are what they are. And a large population are not getting answered, even at the best dealerships. Anthony, what can be done to manage this influx of service calls?
Well, so there's a lot that can be done. First, I mean, you got to be able to properly address what you're doing with the customers. One thing I always tell people, if you're going to push calls into voicemail, just make sure you got your voicemail set up. It's great to say, hello, this is Ted Ng's voicemail. Please leave me a message. Often enough, there's no greeting, and the person's not even sure is this a voicemail or not. So if that's to happen, that's a very, very simple process. Use technology like a CallRevu technology to be able to monitor all that analysis. Now, I have a dealership, and just before this call, I was looking at a dealership in Columbus, Ohio, and a big dealer group. They have 35,000 calls come in a month in the service department alone. Oh. Now, of those calls, how many do you? I mean, you've heard it often. Parts, or this is Joe Parts, Joe Service, or they're dialing in, and they're going quick because they're trying to get back to their service pays. They're trying to attend to the customers that are on the floor. They're trying to do the other stuff as well. So understand how to answer the calls. Understand what those types of calls are, because if you've got, we monitor things like repeat calls. Anthony just called 5 times. That's a problem. Now I'm exaggerating. There's not too often that you get, but I'm trying to exaggerate for effect here. But you do have a lot of people that call again. So which means that something is happening on those calls, that they're not getting their answers, or there's a problem out there. Understanding that, and then coaching and training your staff to be able to then identify, what should we do and how do we do that, starts to help reduce some of that. Know how to handle the times of the calls. We monitor that all the way through. We're looking at where are your peaks and valleys. We use a lot of artificial intelligence in our system. So we're trying to predict things that are happening. The word warranty came up a lot, or recall comes up a lot. So get ready, because if someone's saying, hey, I heard there's a recall, and you keep hearing that over and over again, get ahead of the curve and make sure you've got the parts available, you got the availability for your staff to be trained on understanding what that is, things of that nature.
Anthony, a new term for dealers we're hearing now is conversation intelligence. And, I think maybe a few years back, there was some reluctance, some resistance, to consider AI. But thinking today, when I call the airline or I call the bank, AI is involved in all those conversations. Anthony, take us through the basics. What is a conversation intelligence platform like you have?
So conversation intelligence is really understanding the communication that's occurring through the telephone, or that conversation that's happening, and then taking that data by monitoring it, analyzing it, and then providing you with alerts around it. So it's sifting through all of that bale of hay, as I call it, and finding that needle that says this is an action that I need to take. It's a opportunity lost. It's a upset customer, a CSI warning in advance. Those kind of information you're trying to bubble up that sometimes you're not going to get when you're on the phone. And we're measuring all of that. So you can tell what the level of the conversation is and the issues that are coming out of there, and also how to proactively go out and correct those. So using all of that capability, and as well investments on marketing, lead generation, as they're coming in, you're trying to drive this traffic to come to your store. You're trying to attract them to come and do something with you, oil change, tire change, promotions of some kind. And you're trying to do all those things, and you need to measure if the effectiveness of the campaign is working and where is it working best. So I like to think of it more as a tool that enables you to get better in where you are and what you're doing. Understanding what the call was. I love it when I go to a dealership and they say, we use your tool. We look at the transcriptions that occurred. We can highlight where the problems were because we picked up the sentiment analysis. So now I know where the sentiment went high and low and wrong and not. So I'm focused on that, and I don't have to listen to the entire 5 minutes of the call, but zoom in on that and then talk with the technician and say, hey, what do you think about this? How can we do this better? Those are the kind of things that communication intelligent platforms like a CallRevu can drive.
Anthony, what are some strategies? Here we are in mid-September. What are some things that we can do, right? Some strategies at the dealership level now?
So, immediately I'll go back to the same thing, and it's just back to the basics. Answer your calls, answer the phones, make sure they get answered, or take a message and call them back, but do call back. Now that's a big thing. Follow through with your promises. So one thing we use on our artificial intelligence capability is that we listen to, you made a promise and you said you're going to do something, and we'll alert you that that promise hasn't been delivered on. So go out and fix it. So, the good things is answer the phones. The other ones are access caller summaries. Listen to the caller summaries. Spend the time to review, what those calls were. Look for the bad ones and have the system tell you, because, 3,500 calls in a month, trying to figure out which one was good and which one is bad is going to be a lot of work. A tool like ours highlights them. Here are the ones that were not very good. Here are the ones that were pretty good. Here are the ones that were very good, and use them as tools to enhance your trainings, enhance your understanding on how you're doing. So those are really important pieces. Alerts. You want alerts. If someone left you a voicemail message, and I know, and I've seen this too often in the service departments, by the time they go to their voicemail or they go to their phones, it'll be the end of the day.
Too late.
Voicemail, it is too late. And the customer gets frustrated. Be alerted on that. So we can send you an alert on your cell phone and say, hey, you got a message and this is the message. Do something with it. Those are simple things.
Our dealers are telling us, of course, and we know there's a labor shortage. What can the technology at a company like CallRevu do to help with that? So
look, everybody's has that, the great resignation, and I call it also the Great Depression of hiring people, because it is, it's hard to get good talent as well. Using tools like a CallRevu, again, it enables you to start to manage your resources. Where do you have the highest influx of calls that are coming in? Monitor those. Where do you have the problems with the calls that are repeat type of problems? Things that you can coach people to do. So if there's a repetitive action that's occurring and we pick it up and we inform you about it, use that as a means to coach them to get better. So enabling to use that technology to reduce the amount of work that they have. So work smarter, not harder. If you have 3,500 calls coming in a month, that's a lot of calls. But if those calls are repeat calls, or let's say 30% of them are repeat calls, well, why are they calling you more than once? What's the reason behind that? If I can reduce that, then you've reduced 900 calls. So your people are more effective. They don't have to spend the time on the phones. Know when to schedule the calls. If you see there are peaks and valleys on times that are happening, depending on the seasons, depending of the period and times, those kind of things become really important. And we analyze a lot of that, and we provide you that feedback and and that's real-time information. This is not, hey, wait a week before you get it. We're giving it to you all real-time, immediately type of thing.
Okay, so I'm a dealer. I need to know this information real time. CallRevu, you work with, I think you mentioned approximately 5,000 dealers.
Correct.
You've got a great experience on this. As a last question today, Anthony, how can dealers measure that customer engagement? What should they do, and what can they do?
Oh, and by the way, that's the biggest part. I was speaking to, I can't remember the gentleman's name, a real known person in the Lee. I can't remember Lee's last name, but really interesting topic. And we talked about how do you increase revenue? And the best way to do it is reduce customer churn. Customer retention is number one. Today, people have choices, and COVID's taught them that they have even more choices than ever. But the most important thing is being able to have that customer that trusts you. When you have a customer that comes into a service department and says, "Here are my keys, fix my car and call me when it's ready," that's the epitome of success. Now you've achieved everything because you've got their trust. They know that you're there to fix what first of all, what they have. You understand what they need. They trust you, and they know that you're going to help them get them back on the road with the vehicle. So that's the beginning. To do that, you got to have that conversation that happens most often over the phone nowadays. So how do you make sure that conversation is happening properly? So how do you drive that new business? How do you bring in that customer testimonial and that customer trust? It happens with that conversation on the phone. They don't want to hear you say, "Bring in the car and we'll analyze it for you and tell you how much it costs." If they ask you how much it costs for new tires, give them the price on the phone. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be shy, and tell them, "And we're here to help you. We're here to do this for you." Don't sell them more, service them properly. And that is what conversation intelligence does at its finest. We help uncover and help with all of that process to become that trusted advisor. That is, if CallRevu is anything else, it's that ability to drive that leadership capability and making these people trusted advisors to their customers, be it on the sales or be it on the service side.
Anthony, very powerful. We've got the CEO of CallRevu with us here today. We're talking to Anthony about some of the basics in our industry. You mentioned that word trust a number of times.
Yes.
I know dealers trust what you do there at CallRevu. If our audience wants to reach out to you, Anthony, and find out more about the resources that you've got available, and phones have been a big conversation at this Fixed Ops Roundtable. Anthony, what's the best way they can reach out to you as a resource?
They can either call me or email me at ag@callrevu.com. Go on our website. You can just drop an information there or dial 833-484-8121. We will have someone contact you immediately, but please don't be shy. You can call me directly. I'm more than happy to speak to anyone and help anybody. We're there for you.
Everybody, we've got it here from the top. Anthony Giagnacovo, the CEO of CallRevu, with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Anthony, on behalf of the Fixed Ops community, I want to thank you. I want to welcome you back. In November, we're having another big event. We're going to talk some more about some of the causes that are dear to your heart and mine. And we hope you join us and be here for us with that. Tom Dahl will be here from Subaru as well. So on behalf of the Fixed Ops community, Anthony, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all. It's been a pleasure.
A great pleasure, everybody, to welcome CallRevu here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.